The invoice inbox can be accessed from the Documents menu. Click on Documents, click onto the invoice inbox. This is where you will find all of the invoices that have been emailed into the inbox that need processing. You can arrange the fields that you want to display here by clicking the table icon on the right hand side, and then you can have things like who the match supplier is, what the invoice number is, invoice, the amount that's been read. So obviously once an invoice arrives in the inbox, it gets read and it's ready for simple processing. To set the inbox up, you need to go to Business and Settings and head to the Invoice Inbox tab. And all you need to do here is do two things. First of all, generate yourself a unique email address that nobody else is using. So that's more than likely your company name and the URL, or the domain is at zaharamail.com. And then you can have email addresses that you wish to ignore. So if I was to receive an invoice from a supplier and forward it into the inbox, we need to ignore my email address, delve a little deeper and find the supplier's email address. So we do that by listing any email addresses down here we want to ignore by clicking add email address and then just typing another one in. And that's what you need to do. You click save, go back and get back to your inbox, and then your next job is to send an invoice into Zahara and see it read. Once you are in the inbox and you want to process something, you can click on the Process Invoice button. That will take you through in a step-by-step basis. You can multiple select invoices and click the kind of batch process button up here, which will process invoices very quickly. But initially, if you're on trial, if you're starting out, you're going to want to do each invoice one at a time. And you will have something like this where the PDF is displayed here. We've identified the supplier correctly, we've read the invoice date, we've read the invoice number. I can make any changes if I want to. If I click continue, onto the next screen, that header information is carried forward. I've got the line item that's been read, which is on the invoice itself. I've got the coding, which can come through, the nominal code can come through from the supplier's default. So recognizing the supplier and identifying the correct supplier is essential, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. But then you can click continue. You can send the invoice into a workflow, assuming one is created, and I'm going to click continue and then click create invoice. So literally very little to type in there. All I had to do was click, 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 finish, and off I go. That invoice has now been created, and I will find that in the invoices list view, which is on off the Documents menu again. And there is my invoice that I've created for Adobe. It's in progress. It's now going into the workflow. It will decide whether it needs to come to me for approval, and then it will export the invoice, and then it will put it in our document management system as well. The secret sauce of the inbox is making sure we identify who the supplier is. So if you go into Business and Suppliers, and we find that Adobe supplier and we edit it, then what we want to make sure is that the email addresses that we have are accurate for that supplier. So for example, Adobe send me their invoice every month and they are using the email address message at adobe.com. I can record that as I go, or I can come into the supplier record and add the email address, making sure that the next time I receive an invoice from them, it will use the supplier's email address to identify who the supplier was. That's all you need to do. You don't really need to go through your suppliers and update them in one go. You can do it as you're processing the invoices in the inbox. You will see this little tick box saying add email record to the supplier record. That is it. That's all you need to do. Generate an email address. Secondly, forward an invoice into the inbox. And thirdly, process the invoice when you see it. That's it. I hope that's useful.